Senator, is there any gun regulation, any restriction of gun rights that you could accept, that you could vote for?
Well, sure. I think the fact that we have background checks when people buy firearms and we prevent felons and those with serious mental illnesses from acquiring them, I think those make perfect sense.
So a universal background check is something you could support?
The current state of the law is those background checks are in place when a licensed firearm dealer sells firearms. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement on the quality.
Because 40% of the sales are private citizen to private citizen. That's the loophole we talk about.
Well, except that statistic is actually pretty bogus. It's based on a study before the background checks were put into place. And so that study is highly questionable, that 40%.
I don't know. Wayne LaPierre never questioned that study when I brought up that point. He had a question about the feasibility and collecting records. But there is still a loophole that a lot of people would like to correct.
You know, there actually isn't the so-called gun show loophole. That doesn't exist. Any licensed firearm dealer who sells at a gun show has to have a background check. It's a requirement that applies to every licensed firearm dealer. What it doesn't apply to is personal sales one-on-one. And that's true whether it's at a gun show or not.
Senator Schumer, is this the most likely area of agreement, a universal background check, even more than an assault weapons ban or magazine ban?
I'd say this is the sweet spot in terms of actually making us safer and having a good chance of passing. This is it. Right now, I'm the author of a universal background check bill. I am talking to pro-gun Democrats, excuse me, and Republicans. And I think you're going to see, a very likelihood in the next week or two, a proposal that has broad support for universal background checks. And I would say this to my friend Ted. If you are someone who's not a felon, you go into a gun store, a registered firearm dealer, and buy 20 guns, which you can. He'll do a background check on you. You can sell them to anyone you want, felon or anybody else. So there are huge holes in this law. And I would say this. The last time we made progress on the pro-gun safety side was tightening up this law for mentally ill people in 2007. I carried the law, and the NRA actually didn't oppose it. So I think this is the best chance of getting something done, and I think you're going to find much broader support than we ever imagined.